lucky, and once a month I have some wonderful ladies come and clean my house, and they are here now, so the dogs need to be out of the way. That's our little Maisie girl. She turned 1 the other day, and she is a little bit bigger than Pearl. She's coming up on probably close to 100 pounds. Pearl is 94 pounds. Maisie's a little bit taller. Anyway, we're hanging out here, and since we're in my room and I got my hair done this morning, I think I might try to record my podcast. Maybe the girls will just sit quietly and let me do that. I think the ladies are done vacuuming up here. I will go change my clothes and see what happens.
Hello, and welcome to the Flame and Fiber podcast. My name is Barbara, and you can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Diva S. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the new subscribers. Welcome to the people coming back. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I enjoy hearing from you. Thank you for the comments and suggestions. I asked for suggestions. I got suggestions of patterns for my stockinette rampage that I've been on, and thank you for your good wishes about my skiing. I'll tell you all about my skiing. I went skiing for the first time in 25 years. Oh, God. And I'm in one piece. I survived my skiing, and I kind of enjoyed it, and I'm hoping to enjoy it more the next time I go. Dennis and I, when we were first married, we skied quite a bit. I was much thinner at that time. I was a Weight Watchers leader. Well, I wasn't tons thinner than I am now, but I was a lot thinner than I was 6 months ago. And he was a big skier. He was much more skilled than me. But by the time we had to stop skiing, I was a confident blue slope skier. And he was an expert. He was doing mogul double black diamonds and things like that. But that was about 25 years ago, maybe 23, 20, something like that. I mean, quite a while ago. We've been married for 27 years. It'll be 28 years in July. So it was probably 24 years ago we stopped skiing because I started gaining weight and getting out of shape and couldn't ski anymore. You know, if you can't fit in your ski clothes, you can't ski. So when we started losing weight this past year, I said, oh, you know, and we were going to the gym. I thought, oh, we could ski. So we did. We've just gotten back about a week ago from our trip to South Lake Tahoe in California. And I skied. It was a great trip. Unfortunately, the timing probably was as bad as possible. We're retired. We're totally oblivious to things. We booked this on President's Weekend. President's weekend. So people took off because they only had to have 4 days vacation. Turns out it was also in some districts of California ski week, which is a week they take off between the Christmas holidays and the Easter holidays. They take a week off to go skiing. Yeah. So there were tons and tons of kids. There were, like snakes of little kids skiing down. I do not know how those ski instructors who instruct those classes of, 6-year-olds and 8-year-olds, I don't know how they stay sane. But anyway, so the mountain was full of a lot of little kids. And the same, because I was on the green slopes and so were they. So, and I think they assumed someone of my mature years would be a good skier, and I was not. So that was a little tough. And turned out I wasn't in as good shape as I thought I was. And anyway, so my first day was not fabulous. I started on the super baby green hill, and I did fine there. And then I got confident, and I got on the chairlift that's right there on the easy one. That's the name of the slope, the easy one. Well, it's the oldest chairlift, and while we spent the whole ride up, this is the first time I've been on a chairlift in 25 years, the whole ride up talking about turning and whatever, when we should have been talking about how the heck to get off of this ski lift. So anyway, it was like a straight down, and I'm feeling not that confident. Anyway, I ended up sort of launching off of this chairlift and hitting the ground. The guy had to stop the lift. Him and Dennis had to help me up. Anyway, and it kind of hurt my knees a little bit when I landed wrong, you know, and fell. It took a while for me to get my skis back on. It was very frustrating. I was already, you know. So I fell one more time skiing down that hill. And then I went back to the little baby green hill and did that for a while. So that was my first day. And the place we were staying was right at the corner of the parking lot of the Heavenly Ski Resort, which is an amazing resort in South Lake Tahoe. If you have a chance to go sometime and you're a skier, you should go because it's wonderful. But that meant I had to walk, and the green stuff that you didn't have to take a big lift to was on the far end of that parking lot. So I'm walking in ski boots, which I haven't done in 25 years, carrying very heavy skis. The skis have changed. And these skis were really... Anyway, by the time I got to the baby green hill, I was already exhausted. So it was a very tiring day. And Dennis went off to ski some more on that first day, and I went back to the place. It probably took me 45 minutes. I was exhausted. I was exhausted. So I came up with a cunning plan. I had a cunning plan. Now, we were literally right there. Everybody else staying at that resort was just walking over. But I was exhausted after just arriving, and I thought, this isn't going to work. So the next day I decided I'm going to start my day with a lesson, because obviously I need a lesson. I am not, I'm not feeling any confidence. I'm not feeling confident stopping. And, it had been a long time. And my first day hadn't gone great. So I had planned a lesson. So my cunning idea was that I got up first thing in the morning. My lesson was like at 11. Got up first thing in the morning, took my skis and my boots and my poles, got the car out of the valet, drove across the street to the parking lot very early, so I got a really good spot, parked my car, and walked back to the hotel. So I could walk over in my regular shoes. I walked over in my regular shoes to the car that was parked in a very nice spot and put my boots on and got my skis, and I walked 40 yards, 30 yards to where my lesson was. It was a good plan, because then when I was tired at the end of the day, I did not have very far to walk. So I took my lesson, and that was good, and my instructor bumped me up and thought he thought I did great, because I had signed up for like the beginner lesson, and he's like, oh no, you should be at least in day 2. So I was in day 2, and by the time I was done with my lesson, he was confident I was like a day 4 person. Because I could turn, I was able to ski. The skiing itself was okay, but I wasn't confident stopping. I wasn't confident because, I'm old and I haven't done it in a long time. So the lesson went well. We didn't go on that horrible ski lift. I told him, forget it. If you were taking me on that ski lift, then I'm done. I'm out of here. He's laughed. He said, no. I don't know why they have the oldest, worst ski lift right there on the easy one. So we were on the baby bunny slope for a little while, and then he took us up and to the greens that were at the top of the mountain, up the first gun barrel lift. They also have a tram car which goes to the same spot. It starts at a different place at the parking lot. And so I skied, and he taught us some techniques, and so the lesson was about an hour and a half, an hour, 45 minutes, and I felt pretty good. He was very, nice to me and talking about how well I did, and, that was great. And in the meanwhile, we had run into Dennis, so he knew where I was, and so I didn't go back down with the instructor. I waited and hailed Dennis when he came past, and so we skied together. So we got on another on another lift that, oops, you might be able to hear the ladies. Maybe I'll wait and finish my story. So we went up Maggie's lift to the Maggie's green, and it was nice because it had big long run down, but it was a green. My instructor told me that I could do it. And so I went with Dennis, but I don't know what was going on, but he kept getting in my way. I'm like, I'm the one who doesn't have a lot of control here. Get that out of my way. So finally he said, okay, I'll go in front. I'm like, great, you go in front. And we got to this place that wasn't very steep, but it was narrow. And so the side of the hill came down in kind of a narrow straightaway, not too much going on. And then it dropped really steeply down. I didn't actually look over, but you could tell it was gone. There were trees there and stuff like that. So it was a narrow place. So we're going along, and there's a woman and a child, because the place is filled with kids, stopped in the very middle of this narrow space. And it wasn't that narrow. I mean, what I should have done was just gone towards and gone straight past her, even if I picked up too much speed, and then tried to lose speed. But I didn't do that because I was turning, which is what you do. I was turning, so I tried to go around them, but I got a little close to the edge of the steep drop, and I panicked, and I fell. I didn't hurt myself. It was fine, except that I can't get up with my skis on, and I wasn't able to get my skis off. So there I am, laying out in the, prone, on this relatively narrow space. So people saw me. At least 10 people went past me. Nobody even said, do I need to call a medic, to ask me if I was hurt or anything. 10 went by, didn't say a word, and I'm laying there like struggling to try to get my ski off, and I couldn't. And a lovely man and his little boy stopped and, said, are you okay? Do you need help? I said, yeah, if you could help me get my skis off, I would be fine. I can get up, if I can get my skis off. So this little boy, he was the cutest thing. He was about 6. He probably weighed 45 pounds. He's standing there and he's giving me his pole to assist me getting up. This tiny little kid. It was the cutest, sweetest thing. I said, thank you, sweetie, but, I'm going to be able to get on my knees once I get my... But he was like going to help me. He thought he was going to pull me up. Well, his dad said, pay it forward. At least 10 people have helped my son on this trip, so we're happy to help you. So anyway, the little kid ended up skiing down and telling Dennis, because Dennis was in front of me, so he was like, no help, because he was ahead of me. Not the best plan in the world. We have learned our lesson there. But so Dennis didn't know what happened. He, and when he looked up the hill, he couldn't see me for some reason. I'm not sure, because I was wearing a dark outfit at that point. But he couldn't see me. But I could see him. And I could see that he was like rummaging in his jacket, like he was looking for his phone. And I'm yelling down, don't bother getting your phone out. I can't get to my phone. I'm laying on top of it, So at least then he heard me. And once he heard me, he could see where I was. And he was about ready to take his skis off so that he could walk back up the hill to help me. But anyway, then this little kid came by, and my dad's helping their wife, and she'll be fine. So anyway, so that was the only time I fell the second day, and I didn't hurt myself. And the girls have decided it's time to wrestle. So anyway, I didn't hurt myself, but I scared myself. And it was the end of the day. I was tired. I'd had my lesson, so I was done. And Dennis had skied a lot. So I guess, all right. So he was done as well. So we both went home in my car that was so nicely parked. He had actually gone before me. Now that I think about it, he had, because I was waiting for my 11 o'clock lesson before I started. So he had skied longer than me and was ready to go that day. So I was tired, really tired. And that was Wednesday. We got there Sunday night. We didn't ski on Monday. We skied Tuesday, Wednesday. And that night I made a mistake and I bought my pass for the next day. Maybe not the best time to do a podcast. Oof. Okay. So I made the mistake and I bought my lift ticket And the next morning I was exhausted, and we had originally planned to take a day off in between skiing, which we didn't, and that was a mistake. And anyway, my next day skiing, I had already moved the car. I would have not gone, except I had already moved the car. I only skied for about a half an hour. It was too much. And I had psyched myself out. You know, people talk about self-affirmation and how it really helps them. Well, I can believe that that might work because I really talked myself out of skiing. I mean, if it works one way, it works the other way. And I did not do a good job on my skiing psyche. And so, and I was done. And I was tired. You know, I've been working on getting in shape, but I was not in good enough shape. And, you know, so now I know. They were laying quietly. I think it's because I'm sitting here talking. And they got all rowdy. Well, we got Maze so that Pearl would have a sister to play with. And she does. And they get along great. They're getting along great. In case you can't tell, I don't know if you have big dogs, and I don't know if you have dogs that like to wrestle. That's getting along great. So, are you guys done? Can I keep going, or should I take a break? I'm not sure what they mean by that, but I will keep going. Anyway, the other problem besides the ski week was that the snow conditions were terrible. I don't know what's going to happen in California because a lot of the Central Valley uses the Sierra Nevada snowmelt for their water supply in the summertime. Maze, no. In the summertime. And there is not very much snow. There is not very much snow. It was, and the skiing snow was really bad. If I had been skiing all season in New England, like it used to be when I used to ski in New England, then it would have been fine because it was very much sort of that kind of condition, but it was not powdery conditions that you would expect to see in Sierra Nevada. So that was too bad. Anyway, we had a wonderful time. I found a lovely little yarn shop, which I went to, and I bought yarn. First time in 18 months that I bought yarn, but I did, and I will show you that. And I took a little video clip in the yarn shop, and before I get to my goodies, I will show you that little clip of the little store because it was very nice. All right, these guys are going to calm down. Now, the problem with that is that I'm getting ready to push my chair back to show you because I am wearing my Karina sweater. I finished my Karina. It's the Karina by Isabell Kraemer. And I had shown you I have made one of these. Oh, I have it here. And I fixed it. So this is the Karina sweater I made previously, which is much longer and much bigger, and I like the way it fits me now, and I have a picture of me in it. But this is my new Karina sweater. Now it is not as big. I'm having trouble figuring out how big to make things. The arms, I don't know, are feeling maybe a little bit short. I'm not sure. I keep pulling on them. So I could block it a little bit better, but this is my Karina sweater. I guess they left.
They don't necessarily say. I don't know how long ago they left, but they're gone.
Okay. Did you look for their car?
Yeah.
Okay.
They took the checks gone and the cars are gone.
Okay. There's a box at the bottom of the driveway.
Okay.
Okay, so the dogs are gone. So I guess the ladies were done. Dennis came and took the dogs, so it'll be quieter in here anyway. So here is my Karina sweater. I am very happy with it. And I made this, oh yeah, they're trying to get back in, the rascals. I made this with, with Cloudborn yarn, wool fingering twist.
This is color 26-015. And so this is not the softest yarn in the world. Now, it is in no way itchy, but it is also not really soft. This version of the Karina was made with Francophile yarn, which is now Cardinal yarns, in sort of a silky, and it is soft as butter and yummy, yummy, yummy. This is not, it's a sturdier yarn, feels very sturdy. It's got nice stitch definition. And, you know, if you're super, super sensitive, it might even feel a little itchy to me. I'm not super sensitive, but now that I'm talking about it, I can feel it up here, but it's not going to bother me when I'm just wearing it under normal conditions. So this is the second Karina sweater I made. I don't make very many duplicates, so that's interesting to me. But the thing is, see if I can find the pattern. My goal eventually, and so this may not be my last Karina sweater, is I really want a sweater that looks like this. You know, I really love the sample sweater, and I haven't quite gotten there yet. So I guess it's possible that what I should do is actually buy Quince & Company Turn yarn, which is what this is made out of, and see if I can figure out what size I should be making for myself. So this is, you know, not fitted, but it's not quite as loose as the sample pattern. But anyway, I'm very happy with it. It is comfortable and lovely, and it was a lot of stockinette, which is what I was looking for. So on my last podcast, this was my whip. I was working on it, and I was still very interested in knitting stockinette. I was ready to knit stockinette. I was getting my groove back knitting, and I didn't want to think too much, and I'm not sure what's with me, but I don't want to think too much about my knitting. And so making the Karina, which I had done before, worked. And I asked for suggestions for my next sweater, and I got lots of suggestions, and I thank you very much. I have put several things in my favorites, and a special thank you to Paula, who suggested the Paloma sweater by the Espace Tricot ladies in Montreal, who also have a wonderful podcast, because I took a look at that and decided, yes, that's my next sweater. Ta-da! And this is FO number 2. This is my version of the Paloma sweater. And, oops, I thought I was going to find it in there. Oh, I did. Paloma sweater by the ladies at Espace Tricot. They do not have anybody actually wearing this sweater, which I thought is interesting. And it's just new, so there weren't very many finished objects. Now, they have a very long sleeve, much longer than the body of the sweater. It's a crop sweater, which I made it cropped. But they have a very long sleeve, and you can see by their drawing that the sleeve goes straight out. So it's very floppy at the I was going to say ankle, at the wrist. So I have made some modifications to this. Now the yarn I used is my Indicita alpaca yarn. Now, those of you who've watched my earlier podcasts, I bought this yarn in Lima, Peru at the Indian market in Lima. And I bought 6 packages of 50-gram balls of yarn in 10 balls in six different colors. So I bought 3,000 grams. 3,000 grams of alpaca yarn. Now, alpaca, you should see the beautiful sweaters, alpaca sweaters that you can buy in Brazil. As you can imagine, they are gorgeous. But alpaca has no memory. See, this has a nice detail going down. Alpaca has no memory. So it's not like wool, so it's never going to bounce back. It's a very stretchy yarn. And I was talking to some knitting friends of mine, and Simona made a beautiful all over cable sweater with alpaca that grew to twice the size. So I knew making this out of alpaca was going to be, you know, probably problematic. So I did not make a super large size. Now you can see it has some room, but it's not nearly as much room as is indicated in the pattern. The other thing was, I was concerned, I didn't want those big bell sleeves to start with. I was never going, you know, I was always going to taper the sleeves. But after talking to Simona, I realized that my sleeves are going to grow. The sweater's going to grow. Everything's going to grow a little bit. I mean, it's not like a heavy cabled sweater like Simona made, so it's not likely to grow as much as hers did, but it's going to grow. So I thought, I'm not going to make it too oversized, and I like a 3/4 sleeve. I didn't want the big bell sleeve, so I decided to make mine little longer than elbow length, not quite 3/4 length sleeves. I expect these sleeves to grow eventually. I expect it to get a little bit bigger. It's probably going to get a little bit longer. But I made, so I went to that yarn shop in South Lake Tahoe twice. Now I'm trying to figure out if I have this on backwards. Because I didn't have the right needle to start this sweater, and it starts at the neck and goes down. And so I cast this sweater on Tuesday of last week. No, 2 weeks ago. Today's Tuesday. 2 weeks ago. We were on vacation. We were there on Tuesday 2 weeks ago, and I cast this on. And I knitted the whole time after that while we were in Lake Tahoe, and finished it when I got home. So anyway, and this is actually the first time I'm putting it on after I blocked it. I am so tickled with it, I cannot tell you. Now, this 4-inch neck that it has, I think I'm going to be, excuse me while I sit now that the dogs are gone. This, I think I'm going to be just tucking down, because I think the 4 inches is a little too much for me. But this is going to be really warm, even though it's got shortish sleeves. And I think it turned out really cute. This particular color was my favorite color of the Indicita that I got. I got like white, this color, light gray, dark gray, and a maroon color. And maybe black. I might have only gotten 5. But anyway, I got a ton. I have made 2 shawls out of this yarn, but this is my first foray into a sweater. But you can see, maybe you can't see, but they take a fingering and a mohair together to make this fuzzy sweater. And so this is a DK weight, so it worked out perfectly. And I am really tickled. Like I said, this was my favorite of the colors, so I'm really glad. I like the maroon too. I haven't done anything with the maroon. But the grays, the white, the light gray, and the dark gray, I've made 2 3-color shawls with that. One for me and one for my mother. So I am slowly working through my alpaca yarn. Stash Schmal 2020. And that feels good too. But this is going to be a lovely warm sweater. And if I get chilly, I can always make the neck taller. So, and the Paloma is a free pattern. And it was very, very fun to knit. And I enjoyed knitting it. And it's a lot of stockinette. So thank you, Paula, for the suggestion. I'm really, really happy with my sweater. So I had started the second sleeve of the Karina before we left, and I decided not to take it with me because I didn't have enough knitting on it to make it worthwhile, and I wasn't going to be blocking it while I was away. So when I got home, I finished the sleeve on the Karina, and then I finished this one too. So I have 2 sweaters, and I'm really tickled with it. Now, in the past, I have not made very many cropped sweaters. It never felt like they were that attractive on me. You know, I was a plus size woman of a certain age and somehow cropped just didn't feel like me. But now that I'm smaller and, you know, thinking about my body in a different way, I decided to make it cropped. It's possible that I won't ever wear it because I may never feel comfortable cropped, but I'm wearing it with a long tank top underneath, so it goes down over my pants, so my belly isn't going to show no matter what I do with my arms. So I'm feeling like I'm going to wear it because I really, really like it. I like how it fits. I like how it feels. So I'm hoping that I end up wearing it, but this is an experiment. But I made it the length that the pattern said. All the changes I made were maybe making a smaller size than they might have been suggesting, and then of course I changed the sleeves. But otherwise, I made it the length they suggested, and so we shall see. But I'm pretty happy with it, I have to say. I'm very excited to use the yarn, and I'm grateful for Simona's advice and the ladies. And so I just made everything a little smaller so that if things do stretch, and I know they won't go back, then I'll still be happy with it. Now, while I was making this, as I was changing balls of yarn, I started out using magic knot on this, and I used magic knots on the Karina as well. But the second time I did a magic knot, when I started the third ball, I got about 2 rows around and my magic knot failed. Now, this is very slippery yarn. Anyway, so that was a big eye-opener. Now, could be I did the magic knot wrong. It's very possible. I don't know. All I know is I went back and I changed how I was attaching my yarns, and I will not be making a magic knot again in a sweater, I've decided. And the one magic knot that was already in here, I was not sure how it was doing, so I reinforced all around that knot, so there is no pressure on that knot at all. And I'm hoping it's enough. I don't know, should have... I was thinking, I mean, how do you do that if your knot comes out and now you have your sweaters like unraveling like across here? I suppose you can just take it out, take it apart. You have 2 pieces and Kitchener stitch it back together, I presume. So I guess that's what I'll do if it ends up actually coming apart. I don't know if I can undo my fix, so I think it should be fine. I mean, I'm not that hard on my sweaters, so I'm hoping that the reinforcement that I put around that knot will stay. But instead of doing a magic knot, all I did on this for the rest of this sweater was I just put my 2 yarns together and I just knit both yarns together for 6 or 8 stitches, and then just kept going. And 2 people, I back in the olden days, and I don't know how long ago this was, back when I was working and feeling flush, I signed up for Knit Stars, for the first Knit Stars, and two of the people in Knit Stars won, Stephen West and I can't remember her name. I think her last name is Rodriguez. She's one of the founders of Pom Pom Magazine. Both of them suggested that that's all you have to do. No, you won't be able to tell. You might as well just do that. And it's true. If you've got something that has an inside, because you just leave like half an inch or an inch on each, each end out, and you knit them together, then you're fine. So if you don't have a chance that your wrong side is going to show, especially like in a sweater, that works great. And that's what I did, and that's what I have been continuing to do. So, at phone number 2, the Paloma. Thank you, Paula. What a great suggestion. All right, so then I finished this sweater, and here I am. I'm on a roll now. I'm like knitting. I'm knitting. I haven't been knitting this much. Oh my gosh, I cannot tell you. So I decided, I bought some yarn. It was really the kind of yarn that I said I wasn't going to buy anymore, but I did anyway, which is marginal yarn, and it's on sale. So this is the yarn that I bought, some of the yarn that I bought while I was, I don't know my glasses, while I was at this yarn shop in South Lake Tahoe. The reason I bought it was the name Uluru. Uluru is the Aboriginal name for what has been also known as Ayers Rock in the red center of Australia. It's an amazing place. Dennis and I went there 20 years ago, more than 20 years ago. It was our first big trip we ever did to Australia. What an amazing place. Those of you living in Australia, oh, what an amazing place. I hope the fires are stopping. I guess I haven't heard about the fires in a while. I need to go look that up and see what's happening. I hope you are all safe. What a thing. But anyway, amazing country. If you get a chance, if you don't already live there and get a chance to go, I highly, highly recommend it. But Uluru was an amazing, amazing place. So I was very drawn to the name. And this yarn is, it's like a core spun yarn. It's got a core of what looks like white cotton, and then it's got acrylic and polyester in colors spun around the outside of it. So I got this idea that I was going to use this yarn for my next project. And I went and I got they gave me a pattern to go with this yarn because it's like a little weird and it's like, what can you make with it? But I didn't like that. I didn't care for the pattern. I need sleeves. So I went out and bought from Ankastrick this Notice Spring. And and I was just going to do one color. I wasn't going to do all the colors. And I thought, okay, so I actually did a swatch and I was going, and then I printed off the pattern, and I'm trying to do something that's, easy and I don't have to think. And then I come up with this chart for what to do when you're around the yoke. And I'm like, I'm not doing the chart. I'm not So they have the words, but the words are just like pages, and I'm like, I just want to knit. So I decided I'm not making that right now. And the reason, and I also thought, well, this is the kind of yarn that I buy and then it sits in my yarn stash forever, and that's not good. So I thought, but I changed my mind. So then I've had this pattern on my wish list for a long time, or on my list of in my favorites for a long time, and you're not going to be able to see it. And talk about wasting ink. There's a waste of ink if ever I saw it, but I got the Granito by Joji Locatelli, and it's just a very relaxed sweater. She's standing in front of black, so it's really hard to see. Not great pictures, he's got to tell you. But it's got just 2 lines of detail going down, and it's also got pockets. I don't know if you can see the pockets there. So I thought, you know what? Let me do that. And I'm making this in Blacker Yarns Tamar. I have never used Blacker yarn before, but I bought this in 2018 from the Woolly Thistle, and in this beautiful color, which is called Trevella. And it's hard, it's not getting exactly the right color because it's a dustier, less bright color than is showing. I'm not sure. It's not quite that bright. It's kind of a dusty. It's looking more blue. It's like a dusty, dusty purple. So that's too bad. But this is Tamar, and it says Tamar is a luster blend yarn with fluid sheen reminiscent of flowing water and the river which gives the blend its name. It's made from historic Wensleydale, Teeswater, Cotswold, Black Leicester long wool, and it's also listed as wool. So there are some unidentified wools and then those wools. And so I have been making lots and lots of progress on my Granito. And I am really enjoying knitting with this yarn. Now it also is not super, super soft, but it's actually softer than the Cloudborn that I made the other one with. But it's got this wonderful, just this line detail going down both sides. And it's going to be bigger, it's going to be looser, it's going to be flowier, and going to be longer. So this is not going to be cropped. I'm making this also to match the whatever he says it should be. I think it's not going to be a cropped sweater. I'm supposed to go like over 9 inches down the side before I start dealing with the pocket, I guess. And it also has the same lines going down the back. So we came back from our ski trip, and I immediately had a head cold, which of course I got on the plane coming home. So I got home Monday. Oh, and that's another story. I'll tell you that after I'm finished with the sweater. By Wednesday, I had a head cold, so I'm starting a new sweater, brand new sweater. And, all I want to do is knit, right? But meanwhile, I have short rows for the back. And the interesting thing about the construction of this is you start in the back and you do the back, you have short rows in the back around the neck. And then you knit down to here on the back, to the bottom of the armhole. And then you pick up stitches at the shoulder, and you pick them up so that you have a visible ridge, because that ridge kind of amplifies the other ridges in the thing. And then you start knitting the front. So you pick up one and you knit the front, and then you pick up the other side and you knit the left, and then you knit the right. So I'm getting along, and I did the left, and I go to do the right, and I'm reading the instructions, and I'm like, this is not gonna match what I did. So I went back and I read the directions of the one that I finished, and it said, knit to 30 stitches from the edge. I didn't do that. I knit 30 stitches, which doesn't put you in the same spot. So I had to go back and redo the left side that I had already finished. And then I'm wondering if I have this on backwards now that I'm looking at it. It feels fine. Then I went back and did the right. And then you connect the two fronts and you do them, connect the two fronts, and then you knit for a little while till you get down to the sleeve. So you connect the two fronts and you keep going. And I was, I don't know, 4 or 5 rows of connecting the two fronts when I realized that I had it badly twisted. And so I had this Mobius sweater thing going on. So I had to undo 3 or 4 rows so I could put it straight. It was like, oh, my brain is too foggy for this. I want to just knit. I'm just trying to get to where I can just knit. Well, I'm at that spot now. I can just knit. I can just knit. And I'm really enjoying it. And this is such a beautiful color, and I'm so sad that I'm not getting it. Maybe I can get a picture that has the color a little bit better. It's just dusty. It's like a dusty purple. And maybe against the gray it looks, I'm not sure. So I will try to get a good picture of it. But it's a beautiful dusty purple color. And I got this from the Woolly Thistle. I have several. This is the 3rd sweater quantity I bought from them, but the first one that I'm actually knitting. And I've never bought Blacker before, and so this Tamar is lovely. If you're thinking about it, I recommend it. And I'm really enjoying knitting it. So I am knitting the Granito by Joji Locatelli. And really, really enjoying it. But that is it. That's my only thing. So I had to go back and fix it because it's the only thing I'm knitting. One of these days I'm going to pick my socks up again, though, because I really do need to do better with my socks. So I'm going to put a little clip here that I took at the shop, and then I'm going to show you the goodies that I bought at the shop. And the shop was called Knits and Knots in South Lake Tahoe. It took a little to find it because it's actually within another shop, which has the big sign of the gift shop and then just a little sign that says Knits and Knots. So, I mean, I'm standing in front of the place where it is, calling to find out where it is. And then it said, oh, we're part of so. And I'm like, okay, we're in the right place. I didn't have any trouble finding it the second time when I went without Dennis and bought yarn. So, Knits and Knots.
Okay, well, I've already done my shopping, so Aubrey helped me, and this is a cute little yarn shop in South Lake Tahoe. It also has like a gift shop in the front, which I probably should have looked at before I checked out. But let me take you to the yarn. It starts right here. I was very intrigued by this yarn, I gotta tell you. I asked them, do you have a sample? I saw it in the back, but it's a sample right here. I didn't buy any, because that's definitely the kind of yarn that'll sit forever, but they have a nice little selection of bracelets, pom-pom magazine. I looked through the needles to see if there was anything I wanted, and there wasn't. I discovered that I don't like the Lika bamboo needles. They're not very sharp, so I didn't get any. I was tempted. So here are their local yarns. I got a yarn from these guys, Arcat Fibers, and I got one from Storyteller. And these are local yarn dyers. One I noticed was from Reno. I also got a little Progress Keeper shaped like Lake Tahoe. And it's got all kinds of lovely yarn. They carry acrylics, they carry all kinds of stuff. They carry these big giant things that you can make blankets out of, and some beautiful, beautiful yarns. These are the store, more of the Arcat and Storyteller, but they have Malabrigo. I saw and a little section of needles, and this is some Ella Ray, some Designer's Choice. They have lots of nice little samples, little tchotchkes. I bought a couple needles. Well, I bought a couple cables. And some cotton that knits up pretty. And if you wanted to do something really giant, they have the needle for you. Some Debbie Bliss, some Serter, Sirdar, which I've never seen in person. I feel like that's a British yarn. A lot of British yarn shops have it. And here's some Nora. And here's some needle felting stuff. And I got some of this Uluru, Queensland from Australia. I couldn't resist. It was on sale. And Uluru's an amazing place. I've got a nice table full of stuff here. Hello. And this is where they have their knit night on Tuesday nights, but I was too tired from skiing and I couldn't come. Anyway, it's a very lovely little place. And if you're in South Lake Tahoe, I'd rather stay home, hilarious. If you're in South Lake Tahoe, I recommend it because I already got my yarn, which you will see shortly.
All right, well, I showed you the Uluru yarn that I got. It was on sale. Colorful Cotton Blend Queensland collection, which made me think it was Australian because Queensland is one of the states of Australia. But it doesn't actually say that it's made in Australia. It's made in China for Euro yarns. Knittingfever.com. Still have my cold. All right, so I got those, but they were on sale. But I did buy, as you saw, I told you in my film clip, I bought from two different dyers. This is hand dyed in Reno, Nevada. Now we ended up flying into Reno, and so Reno is about an hour from South Lake Tahoe. This is my Progress Keeper I bought. This is in the shape of the lake. So this is Lake Tahoe. So this is Arcac, A-R-K-A-I-K, Arcac fibers, Fremont sock. This is Blue Face Leicester light fingering in the colorway Suki in the Graveyard. 75% superwash British BFL and 25% nylon. And hand dyed in Reno, Nevada. While I prefer 80% wool because it's warmer, since I started having holes in my socks, I'm appreciating a little more nylon, tell you the truth. Anyway, this is a beautiful colored green. I think I'm going to actually be making this into a cowl. There's a cowl pattern that I saw that has a really nice chevron detailing texture, and so I thought a beautiful color, unvariegated color would go nice. And the other yarn I bought was from Storyteller, and this is color, is that Eve? I cannot tell. This is Superwash Merino, and each skein is unique, one of a kind. In other words, don't try to match anything. So that's just beware. And this is Storyteller sock, and it's got these gorgeous colors. Oh, my lighting is terrible today. I'm sorry about that. And, you know, it's got these muted colors with a little bit of orange and rust. And then it comes in and bam, green. And I just thought, I really just wanted to see what, and then pink, what is this going to look like in a sock? So my plan is for this to be socks. So that was what was in the bag when I did that video. But while I was making that video, I saw, oh, they have another place where they have needles that I didn't know about. And I ended up buying the Chiagu, and I'm not sure what they call this, and I don't seem to have the bag anymore. But these are the small needles. I have very small hands, and so these are the 2-inch and 3-inch needles, interchangeable needles. And they have tiny, tiny little wires so that you can make 9-inch. There's a 5-inch wire here, and if you put the 2-inch needles on it, you will make a 9-inch needle if you like to knit things with 9-inch needles. Now these, I didn't get the small size like socks. This is size 4 to 8 in both 2-inch and 3-inch, the needle part. Now some people can't do that small, but I can, because like I said, I have small hands. So there's a 5-inch core cable, a 6-inch cable, and an 8-inch cable. So if you put an 8-inch cable with the 3-inch needle heads, so 8 plus 6 is 14. So that's for a sleeve. Or you could use the 2-inch, and then you would have 12. So you can make sleeves and things like that, which is what I was interested in being able to do. And so I ended up buying this as well, but that was not in the bag yet because I bought it later. So that was my treat for my vacation treat to myself, because I haven't been in a yarn shop in a really long time. So these are the lovely yarns that I bought in Lake Tahoe, and those are my goodies. I also got my pom-pom magazine, but I think everybody has already shown their pom-pom. This is a very pretty sweater. This is a Joji Locatelli design, I think. And yeah, and she used 2 or 3 kinds of things. This is also a very pretty. There's a shawl. This is also a very pretty sweater. But this has giant sleeves, which won't work for me. But I'm perfectly happy to go ahead and change the sleeve. And I'm sure the sleeve was kind of the point for some of them. This is also cute. But anyway, lots of stuff, but I haven't had a chance to look at it too much. I also got my new Vogue knitting magazine too. Oh, so the last thing that happened, this is going to be a very long podcast, and I'm really sorry. So we get home. We took a red eye home from Reno to Philadelphia. We live outside of Philadelphia. And we get home at 7 o'clock in the morning, Monday morning. We left our hotel at 11 o'clock Pacific time on Sunday. And we get home at our house on Monday morning at 7 Eastern time, and I am not a good sleeper on a plane, so I was tired. And we get in, and of course the first thing you have to do is pee, and it turns out we didn't have any water. Now, we live out in the country, and so we have a well, and so Dennis goes down and double checks that the circuit breaker for the well is, whatever, no, everything's fine, so. No, we don't have a well pump company. We've lived in this house for 19 years. 18 and a half years, and have never actually had our well pump serviced, which might have been a mistake. I don't know. Anyway, our well pump died. The pump that's actually deep down in the well stopped working. Now, our water is very full of iron. We have a very elaborate filtration system in this house to get the iron out of our water. And so when they pulled, it was like a giant hose, and they pulled it out. They had to pull out, because it's a 250-foot well, they had to pull out 250 feet of this giant thick hose to get the pump from the bottom of it. And it was just covered in this red iron gunk. So I'm surprised it lasted as long as it did. I mean, it's probably the original well pump. So anyway, we had to replace our well pump. And they had to replace all that stuff and the well pump. And that actually only took about 3 hours. They got here like at 10:30. They were done by 2. But they had to shock the well with chlorine. And so we had a hose hooked up on the inside of our house through the basement and out the front door, because we essentially had to empty our well of water. Now, we have a very good flow rate on our well. We're very lucky. We've got a very full aquifer. Our aquifer that we're on is actually growing, unlike many aquifers around the world. And so we pumped water out of that. We had that hose flowing full bore out into our front yard from 2:30 to 9:30 that night. And then, because it was going out the front door, we had to pull it in to go to bed And the next morning we had to put it back out, and it ran again till 9:30. So it ran for a full 18, 20, 24 hours before the chlorine cleared out of that water enough that we could attach it to our house. I was like, by the middle of the day, and it was still too much chlorine. I'm like, oh my God, they poisoned our well. But, and, you know, on the bright side, after we paid a lot of money and went through 2 days with no water, luckily we had giant carboys of water in the basement, because at one point years ago, we used to lose our power all the time. And when you lose your power in the country, you lose your water too. And so we had still had those in the basement with water in them. And so Dennis brought them up so we could flush the toilets. And of course I went and bought water, and, you know, I mean, we were fine, but it was a pain. But our water pressure's better now that we have a new pump and not all that gunk. So that's nice, because, you know, you live on a well. I don't know how your well is if you're on a well, but our well is like when you're taking a shower, you make an announcement to the whole house. I'm taking a shower, which means don't turn the water on and don't flush the toilet, because otherwise you're going to mess up my shower. Well, I think we still will probably have to do that, but not nearly as much. We have much better water pressure. So anyway, that's the story of my trip, which was wonderful, even though I'm very sore, was very sore. In fact, that first day when I fell, I thought I injured my knee, and that night my knee really hurt, and I thought, oh, this is a big mistake. I'm supposed to take a lesson tomorrow, and my knee hurt. But it was the weirdest thing. As soon as I put my ski boots on and walked in them, my knee didn't hurt. My knee hurt walking across the parking lot in my regular shoes. Did not hurt when I put that ski boot on. Didn't hurt the whole day I was on my lesson, and when I fell again, didn't hurt. When I got home and took the ski boot off, it was a little bit sore, but it didn't hurt as much as it had that morning, and the next day it was fine. So I was very lucky. That was wood. I was actually knocking on wood. So I was very lucky. So, you know, a little sore. I'm very sore. Oh my gosh, it hurt me to brush my teeth. My tricep. Because I was doing a lot of polling to get into position for the, you know, it hurt. Luckily, it didn't hurt to knit. I was knitting. I didn't have any problem. As soon as I went to brush my teeth, it hurt to brush my teeth. I'm out of shape. But we're working on it, and that's our plan for next year. Before I go, I want to remind everybody we're doing our Craft from Your Stash knit along again with the lovely Leslie from the Not Quite Enough Yarn podcast. She is on a no-buy year this year. This is her 3rd year in a row, but she's always acquiring much more yarn than me, so I don't feel bad that I actually bought some yarn. I'm not buying a lot of yarn, but I did buy some yarn, and I like my yarn I bought, and it was fun to be in a yarn shop where I could buy yarn if I wanted. But I've been crafting from my stash. I've had this for 4 years at least, maybe more. The Cloudborn I bought in 2018, the Tamar I bought in 2018. So I am crafting from my stash. I am crafting from my stash every day because I have so much beautiful yarn, and I have to say I have enjoyed shopping in my stash so much, and I intend to continue to do that. So you will not see a lot of new goodies from me because I have a lot of beautiful, beautiful yarn. And you'll see goodies because I'll show you this Tamar. Did you even remember I got that Tamar? You didn't probably. Heck, I forgot it half the time. You know, that's what happens. You order it, oh, it's in the bag, you know, and it stays in the bag. I wish I could get that color right. No, I wish I could get that color right. So I'm making smaller sizes of things than I did previously, which may end up meaning that I have overbought yarn for some of my sweater quantities, and that would be interesting. So I may be giving away some of the extra skeins for my prizes because there's a FO thread and a cheddar thread for the Craft from Your Stash make along that Leslie and I are doing, Stash Mail 2020. And at the end of every quarter, we're both giving a yarn prize from the Finished Objects thread and a pattern prize from the Chatter thread. And so the first podcast of April, I will be pulling prize winners for that. Now, Nana got in touch with me. She was the grand prize winner for the last year's, and I told her I couldn't mail it till I got back from my trip, and I came back from my trip and got sick. So I have not mailed it yet, Nana, but I will mail it this week, I promise, and I will message you and let you know that it's on its way. And thank you everybody who's participating. It's so wonderful to look at everything you're doing. I know I haven't been very vocal on the chatter thread, and I will try to do better about that, but I've been enjoying it so much. And thank you to everybody who's participating. And thank you, Leslie, for doing this with me again this year, because it's so much fun. And like I said, it is so nice to craft from your stash. Crafting from your stash. And, you know, when you're on brand, when Leslie's on brand, I mean, she can make anything out of anything because she just puts stuff together. If you don't have enough, follow her lead. Make a stripe. Color block. Fade. You can do it. You can craft from your stash. It's amazing. And it's so much fun to shop in your stash. It really is. It really is. And it's so much cheaper. So much cheaper. That money's all spent. Enjoy it. Enjoy it. So anyway, thank you so much for everybody who's participating. Thank you everybody who has commented and left me messages. I really, really appreciate it. I really do enjoy this community, and I appreciate everyone who participates. And thank you so much. And I hope you all have lots and lots of time to do the crafting that brings you joy. And I will see you in a couple weeks. Bye.